So what a lot of people don't realize is that the study of ancient Egypt covers such a vast time period that they're actually broken up into different periods.
Girl, for real?
But before we dive into these time periods, I just want to remind you that I am Erika Brown, and I'm all about bringing biblical archaeology to the culture. So if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're following across all of my social media platforms. All right, y'all, so let's get into this. So let's kick things off with the period known as the Pre-Dynastic Period. And for this video, I'm talking about the years 5300 to 3000 BCE. So this is the period when everything that we know to be Egyptian, all of these things really start to begin during this time period. Then, following the pre-dynastic period, we have the period known as the early dynastic period. And that covers the years of 3000 BCE to 2686 BCE. Now, if you've been to Egypt or you've seen imagery of Egypt and you've seen the step-looking pyramids, this is the period that we get those pyramids. And this is also the start of dynasties 1 and 2, when they're ruling all of Egypt. Now, the next period that we have is called the Old Kingdom period. And this covers the years of 2686 BCE to 2160 BCE. And it's during the Old Kingdom period that we have dynasties 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 ruling over all of Egypt. Now, it's during the Old Kingdom period that we get the building of the famous pyramids of Giza, the pyramids that we always see. This is when those pyramids are built. And the Sphinx is built during this time period as well. Now, the next period is called the First Intermediate Period. And it covers the years 2160 to 2055 BCE. Now, we call it an intermediate period because the dynasties that are ruling in ancient Egypt at this time, dynasties 9, 10, and 11, they're not ruling all of Egypt. They're only ruling parts of Egypt. They may be ruling in the north and they may be ruling in the south, but they're not ruling the whole thing. And it's super messy, it's super chaotic because everyone's trying to be the head pharaoh in charge, the HPIC. These dynasties are really trying to rule all of Egypt, but they're not ruling all of Egypt, they only rule in part. And that's why we call it the intermediate period. And then after the first intermediate period, we have the period known as the Middle Kingdom period. And this covers the years of 2055 BCE to 1650 BCE. Now, during the Middle Kingdom period, we have dynasties 11, 12, 13, and 14. And these dynasties are ruling over all of Egypt again. But then, after the Middle Kingdom period, we go into the second intermediate period, which covers the years of 1650 to 1550 BCE. And again, like before, we have dynasties, but these dynasties are not ruling over all of ancient Egypt. They're only ruling parts of ancient Egypt. And I'm talking about dynasties 15, 16, and 17. Now, one of the most interesting things about the second intermediate period is that it is during this period that we get the Hyksos ruling over Egypt. Now, if you don't know who the Hyksos are the Hyksos are what the Egyptians called Asiatic rulers. And for the Egyptians, Asiatics were people who came from the area known as the Southern Levant or Canaan or ancient Israelite area. People who came from that area. But I'm going to talk about that a little more in another video. That's not for today. But just know that the Hyksos was ruling in Egypt during this time. And that's pretty significant. But again, we'll talk about that later. But then, after the second intermediate period, we have the New Kingdom period. And that covers the years of 1550 BCE to 1069 BCE. And this is when all of Egypt is being ruled by dynasties 18, 19, and 20. And this is the time period that everybody's most familiar with when it comes to ancient Egypt. I'm talking about the 18th dynasty, where we've got Hatshepsut, King Tut, Nefertiti, right? In the 19th dynasty, we've got Seti I, Ramses II, aka Ramses the Great. And then in the 20th dynasty, we got a bunch of Ramses, and I mean literally a bunch of Ramses. I'm so serious. The 20th dynasty is just a bunch of Ramses. Bunch of them. Next, we have the third intermediate period. And that covers the years of 1069 BCE to 664 BCE. And this is when we have dynasties 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 ruling over parts of Egypt, not all of ancient Egypt. Now, it's during the third intermediate period that we get the Nubian pharaohs. Yes, we had Nubian pharaohs. And again, it was during the third intermediate period. But then after the third intermediate period, we come into a period that's known as the late period. And this covers the years of 664 BCE to 332 BCE. And this covers dynasties 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. At the end of this period, the Persians come in, they take over, but then the Persians are defeated by Alexander the Great, and that's when we go into what's known as the Ptolemaic period. And that covers the years of 332 BCE to 30 BCE. And so with this one, we don't have the number dynasties anymore. We got name dynasties. So the first dynasty of this period is the Macedonian dynasty, and that's the dynasty of Alexander the Great. But that baby didn't have any heirs, so his empire was split between his 4 generals. And his general named Ptolemy got Egypt. Hence the name Ptolemaic period. And the Ptolemaic period is a time period where we get the reign of the infamous Cleopatra. But then the Ptolemaic period ends when the Romans take over. And y'all know how the Romans do. They was just taking over everything, right? And the Roman period covers the years of 30 BCE all the way to 395 CE, or AD, if you will. And it's at this point, we're not really dealing with dynasties as much as we're just dealing with Roman rulers and Roman emperors, y'all know, Romans. So that's how the vast history of ancient Egypt is broken up. We have the pre-dynastic period, the early dynastic period, the old kingdom period, the first intermediate period, the middle kingdom period, the second intermediate period, the new kingdom period, the third intermediate period, the late period, the Ptolemaic period, and then finally the Roman period. I don't know about y'all, but when I first got into learning about ancient Egyptian history, I was really shocked to find that there were so many period groupings. And just in case you're wondering, the chronology that I present to you guys today is based upon the Oxford History of Ancient Egypt written by Ian Shaw. So if you want, you can definitely check that out if you want to learn more about the timeline and just more about ancient Egyptian history in general. This is a great read for something like that. So yeah, let me know what you think below. Did you already know? Were you shocked? Was it useful? All of the things. Really, just let me know what you think in the comment section below. And also make sure you like this video. Make sure you're sharing this video. And as always, this is just so you know.